On today's show, we're taking you behind the scenes in our most memorable adventures.
It's 11 o'clock at night, we're driving by a head torch.
Every radiator out of every car clogged, caked with mud.
From breakages to funny moments that never made the final cut. This is a question we've had many times on the show, mate. I want to clear this up once and for all, mate. Is he your dad?
Nice knowing you, mate. I'll see you again. Good things have happened.
Right now, I think I'm along with a lot of other Aussies and a lot of people probably around the world that are locked down because of COVID, which means a lot of time in your shed and not much time for adventuring. And today, we want to look back on some of the most memorable moments on our show, because that's all we can do right now. We're stuck in the shed thinking about the good times, and we've got Jocko on the line. Jocko, are you there, mate?
Hey, there you are, mate. How are you?
Hey, how are you enjoying your lockdown, mate? You're in the shed, I see.
I am. Tell you what, it's nice to hear your voice. I've been spending a lot of time in the shed by myself, and I think I'm going a bit crazy.
You and I were talking the other day, mate, about some of the epic trips we've been on. And it sort of got us thinking that we should potentially show you guys some of our favourite moments, but better yet, go behind the scenes and show you some of the stuff you probably have never known about and some of the most famous trips we've done.
Yeah, tell you what, mate, there's been so much that's gone on, even when the camera isn't rolling. And we even put the question out to you guys to send us in your favourite memorable moments that you've wanted to see.
There's been a stat come through, mate, and we'll get onto a lot of those today and let you know not just about what you saw in front of the camera, but the stuff you didn't get to see, the backstory on all of these memorable moments. Of course, if your memorable moment didn't make the cut, why don't you let us know in the comments below, because we'll go through and pick out 3 of the best comments to give them probably, I'm thinking, mate, maybe a Snatch clothing gift voucher, a $50 voucher. So we've got 3 of those to give away for the best comments below. Reckon, Jocko, we get into this one, mate?
Yeah, mate, let's do it.
I reckon we kick off with this one, mate. This is from Ryan Stokes. Now, he wants to know about the Tasmania trip, about getting the Goodyear Raptor out after snapping that steering arm on the $1,000 track.
Oh, that was awesome. How many straps do you reckon we went through just trying to get that vehicle out of there?
I remember when it actually snapped, and we're probably about halfway in one of the toughest tracks in Tasmania. And I remember we're just covered in mud. We just literally sat down. The camera crew was basically filming us saying, okay, so what are you going to do to fix this thing? We said, you have to turn the cameras off because we don't have we've got no clue. We've got no clue how to get this thing out. We had to sit down and just think about it for about 25, 30 minutes. And then we came up with the idea of using a few ratchet straps to try and pull that steering knuckle in and try and keep the wheels straight. So we ended up rating everyone's ratchet straps. I think we used about 3 to start with. And what do you reckon? We went through about 7, I think, all up.
I think so, yeah. I think so. There weren't many left after it, but I just remember, like, the vehicle was stuck in a bog hole at the time as well. And I just, like, we tried everything firsthand, and obviously it's a case for bringing spares as well. But I tell you what, like, considering the situation we had, I reckon we did a pretty good job getting that vehicle out of there.
It's actually quite an ingenious idea. The ratchet straps obviously just held that one wheel that was flopping around in the breeze nice and straight. So he had steering
just to keep it straight, yeah.
Yeah, and it was probably the most turns on any four-wheel drive track in Australia, the old $1,000 track. It's a lot of hairpins and there's no straight lines whatsoever. So, I mean, just the fact we got that car out, it's still to this day, I reckon, it's probably one of the best bush mechanic fixes I reckon we've ever been involved in, mate. It's how we got that vehicle out of the $1,000 track. He beats me, mate. But I'll tell you one funny thing, and I don't think this ever made the cut on the $1,000 track on that show is, do you remember late into the adventure where we were just basically coming up to the hut? We were very excited because the hard track was nearly done. We'd nearly made it. We're about to high five. And now you guys were suffering, I think, from a busted alternator in the D-Max, wasn't that right? Yeah,
that's right. That's right. And we were swapping batteries. We did it 3 or 4 times during the day just to keep the vehicle going with four-wheel drives that had a good alternator that could charge their battery, and we'd put that one into the D-Max and swap it out. It's 11 o'clock at night. We're driving by a head torch. There's Graham, you can't see him because the alternator's cooked. That is our view of the $1,000 track. Oh, what's going on?
Yeah, good. I just swapped out the other side of that corner bog.
Oh, this is great. But we were, as you said, we're about 50 metres from camp, so I was like, we won't change the battery again. Let's just tow us in.
Just went dead, hey. It just went dead right beside that creek.
Yeah, it had had enough. It saw camp as well. It was keen for a cold beer like we were. And
it just had enough.
we just thought that last 50 metres, just give us a tow. Don't worry about swapping the batteries.
Well, Graham, Jocko, you got a copy?
No, mate, we don't. You're breaking up really badly. We can't hear you.
Well, I can hear you, mate, and I can see you really attached to old Sooty here.
Oh. Yeah, Sooty by name, Sooty by nature. That thing stinks.
You better have something pretty good cooking tonight.
Well, mate, it's either this or it's either a pretty lonely camp by yourselves. I'll tell you what, the only way forward with a flat battery, mate.
I think we got a little bit overexcited to get into camp because remember there was that,
I certainly did.
The creek crossing and there was that steep little pinch to get up to the hut.
I know. I thought, and then I came in, I didn't realise how tight it was or how soft the sand was, so I gave it absolutely everything in Sooty. How good's that, eh?
Thank God for the hut.
Oh, what a hut it is too.
How cool's that?
That is spectacular. The hut.
I didn't even think what was going to happen to you guys on that strap, mate, and let's just say...
I closed my eyes.
You came very close to going on your side from memory. I remember you guys were just laughing, and I just gave it everything because I didn't want to get stuck. I'd been stuck enough for the last 4 days. I just thought, you know what, I'm going to power through, and whatever happens here, I'm going to get Sooty to camp, and it nearly involved rolling the D-Max.
I'll tell you what, it was worth it because that was an absolute cracker of a campsite. And I remember you cooked up an absolute storm later that night as well.
It was. It might have been a storm and a cooking scene. Two combined. It was a few schooners sort of made. Do you remember the next day out though? Because I guess the show finished there for you guys, and you're probably thinking, oh, well, as soon as the camera turns off, that's it. You know, the show's done.
Yeah, the helicopters come, they pick us, they take us to our hotels and do all that sort of stuff. Yeah,
nothing like that. We were done. We were finished filming, but that didn't mean we were done for the track. So we had obviously the vehicle that was busted. We had the Ranger. We had the D-Max still had the cooked alternator. Every single car had accumulated so much mud in the radiator. We probably had about a 40 or 50k drive on just basic sort of fire trails to get out of here. But the problem was, as soon as we started driving, every single car in the convoy started overheating. So it took us the whole. We had a 40k drive and then probably another 50 or 60 k's on the tarmac before we were getting to the local pub, and we didn't get into dark that night because we were stopping probably. What do you reckon, Jocko? Every 3 kilometres. 4 Ks,
if that.
Probably doing about 20 Ks an hour.
Yeah, I remember with the D-Max, Graham and I were just putting along, and at one point it overheated. And there's a real steep climb out of the $1,000 track. It's just a fire trail, but it goes forever. And remember all those beehives that were there as well?
Yep.
Graham and I stopped because the car was overheating, and we got out to pop the bonnet and let it run to just get a bit of cooling into it. And we were right next to one of those beehives. We got so scared and got back in the car, and there was bees in the car and stuff. And I've never heard Graham scream more like a girl in his life.
Yeah. It was happened a few times from memory. I remember for me with Sooty, it was overheating, but I figured out if I could drive no more than about 30 k's an hour, and I could use my winch to actually latch onto the bonnet and keep the bonnet ajar by about a foot, I could get enough airflow in there. It would actually cool it down a little bit so I could actually drive. How's this? Old Sooty's overheating, a stack of mud in the radiator. But I've just put the heater on full tilt and open the bonnet, use the winch to keep it like that and drive it like that. I'm actually able to drive it and not overheat. You're struggling when you've got to do little manoeuvres like this. Oh yeah, that's a freshie as well.
Because we even got to the pub, the Waratah pub, and we all had, I think every single car had the radiator out the next day, and we were hosing them out just behind the pub there. I remember the publican, we walked in and we're all covered in mud, and he just looked at us and went, "You been on the $1,000 track, have you?" We just laughed and cried a little bit, and he said, "There's a hose around the back."
His hose around the back for your radiators, boys. And, he answered the question we didn't even ask.
Let me go this way. Every radiator out of every car clogged, caked with mud. This is looking real good right now. Gotta do that one there next. Bonnets are up, starter motors are out, radiators are out. It's rainy, it's muddy. Tasmania, I bloody love it.
Right, next one, mate. This one comes from Corey M, and it's about the Lithgow episodes we did at the start of last year, when we camped at Lake Lyle with the Opus camper at that beautiful spot at Lake Lyle there, and it was right at the start of when all this coronavirus stuff was kicking off and lockdowns were just starting to come into effect. Because remember, we were in the bush for a couple of days and we didn't really know much about it. And we came out and it was heating up. And we had that last thing to film up at Moon Rock there in Lithgow.
That's right. I remember thinking like we just came out of the bush and we started getting word from the office that there's this coronavirus, and I thought,
yeah,
how bad could this cold be, mate? Like, you know,
get
yourself a warm blanket and a cup of tea, you'll be right. But it turned out pretty bad. And we found out we just came out of the bush, and that night they were going to shut the borders down, which we've never heard about anything like this ever happening before. So we sort of freaked out, and I just knew that I had to get home that night. I had about till midnight that night to get home. Yet we still had to finish a whole chapter of the show.
And we filmed Moon Rock, and that was the last thing we had to film because I remember we finished filming and everyone just went their separate ways. It was say goodbye at the top of the track and off you went, because I also, right at the end, I think one of the last things we filmed was I tried to drive the Spares Box 200 up Moon Rock and I snapped the CV, and it was right at the end of filming.
Right at the end.
Whoa! CV! I saw it happen!
I knew it.
Oh, mate, we jinxed it. That was a big bang. Big metallic bang. That usually means one thing.
CV.
CV, mate.
At the bottom of this track, I said, I don't want to do a CV, and I just did a CV.
I sort of got excited. I was a bit flustered. I knew I had to finish this show, finish Moon Rock. I was airing up and I was just about to go, and I backed over all of the camera lights and I think a tripod as well. And
I think they were new camera lights as well.
It was brand new. I drove over it and I've never done that before. We're all flustered. And then the problem is Sooty had a buggered alternator. It just started playing up. It's always the case, isn't it? When you need to get out in a quick time frame or something like that, or there's a bit of stress associated, the vehicle just sometimes just goes, it's had enough.
Nah, you know what? I don't want to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, my alternator was buggered and I still had a good sort of, 1,000 Ks to drive to get home. And I was like, I can't stop my vehicle. So Shuey, the cameraman, actually, him and I are both from Queensland, so we just took off that night, mate. We did not stop driving. And every time I did stop, I couldn't turn the vehicle off because it wouldn't start again. So if I did turn it off, I had to get the camera car to park in behind me so he could give me a nudge so I could clutch him and off we'd go again. And
crikey, all just
I think I just made it. I just made it. By the time I got into Queensland, it was obviously dark and I was running on one headlight that was like a little candle that was just dimming up. It started raining. I couldn't use my windscreen wipers. They wouldn't come on. And I just sent old Sooty. The good thing about Soot, she just knows which way home is, and it just made it. That's the thing about these trucks. They might break down in every, possible form, but they'll generally get you home. And that's what Sooty did that night.
Yeah, that's it.
I just parked it on the grass, went inside, and found out there was a coronavirus. That was a whole new world.
It was a fascinating time, wasn't it? I still think about the time we were at the top of that track when we all just dissipated. It was phenomenal.
Nice knowing you, mate.
I'll see you again. Good things have happened. We'll see what happens. I don't know.
This one here come from Joel Pemberton. He wants to know about when you rolled the Pony Lux in the Cheap Truck Challenge. Now, I've got to say, it's not many times where I'll laugh that much off-road. And the time you and Matt rolled that Pony Lux, mate, can you take us through it? That was the very last challenge of a whole episode. So we'd finished filming. We were done. We were done.
We had to film the closer?
We had to film the closer, and I don't even know why the camera guys, I guess they're just well tuned to keep the cameras rolling, but the challenge had been driven. I actually got out of my vehicle, was walking back down to pick up some recovery gear or whatever I was doing, and then I just see in the distance the Pony Lux on its side.
That's it.
Oh.
We had it.
Yeah.
Watch the key. What a weapon.
Whoa!
Oh my God.
I was thinking, what were you doing?
I was trying to go up that bonus line.
I was retarded.
Jocko!
Oh my God. Oh, I'm never going to hear the end of this.
What was going on, mate? Take us through it.
Well, okay, there was a lot. First off, I would like to say that I didn't roll it, Joel. I put it on its side. There's a bit of a difference.
There's a technical difference there, sure.
There's a technical difference. I mean, I messed up. I messed up no matter which way you swing it. But yeah, we were done filming and Matt and I were just having a great old time in the car. We'll talk about how much we liked it and it was flexing pretty good and we're just chatting and I was being a little bit cocky, to be honest. I was, driving with my mate. We'd had a great couple of days in the bush. That was some of the most fun I've had in a four-wheel drive, by the way, those days in the Bush Mechanic Challenge in the Glassy with you and Jesse and Matt and stuff. And, we're on cloud 9. Got to that bit at the top and Matt goes, "Oh, what do you reckon about that over there?"
Yeah, that's a luxy line if I've ever seen one.
And I think he was kind of pulling my leg a little bit. Like he was like, "Oh yeah, that's
Jocko
a good
won't
idea."
drive that.
Yeah. And I was like, "Oh, what do you mean?" And so I drove it and yeah.
Well,
it just...
you didn't technically drive it, did you? I'll put one on the rear as well. I don't want any traffic coming up behind and not knowing what they're getting themselves into.
I got absolutely nothing, eh?
What made this, you're okay, so I can say this now, mate.
Yeah.
What made this even more funny was the fact that you were in the car with Matt. Look, I don't want to embarrass you, but someone that you look up to, someone that, has been wheeling for a long time. He's quite accomplished in the four-wheel drive scene, and you were in the driver's seat. From memory, you weren't having much luck in the driver's seat on that trip. And
No,
to
I
go
wasn't.
roll it with him in the vehicle, I thought that was the funniest thing I think I've ever seen off-road.
I was trying to show off to a mate of mine who I look up to, who's taught me a lot, and I bin the car while trying to do it.
I think, the old Pony Lux, mate, it's a bit of a star in front of the camera, mate, but when the camera does turn off, it's a bit of a different story, isn't it?
I don't know what it is about that four-wheel drive. It's kind of almost a little bit of a curse, but things go wrong with it once the cameras stop. And it happens a lot. Like, remember on Fraser Island, we were getting off Fraser Island and the exhaust snapped in half just under the driver's seat. It literally snapped in half and I didn't have anything to fix it with on Fraser, so I just had to cop it. And have you ever driven a car without a naturally aspirated four-wheel drive without an exhaust before?
Because, without an exhaust, mate, an old 2H,
Yeah.
And not a pretty noise, is it?
I had toilet paper in my ears, and because the car has no power, I had the tyres down real low, and the sand was super soft because it was the afternoon, and I was just flogging this poor car to try and get down to the ferry in the soft sand.
What about the time you took it to 6 stage, mate?
Oh, yeah, so that, I pretty much almost put it on its side again. It's on 6 stage, and I smashed a window,
That's a
snapped
proper
the CV.
hard track, that one.
Yeah, it's a big boys track, that one, but it's worth it. It's a good drive. Whoa!
There goes the doors.
There goes my window. Poor old pony was a bit worse for wear after that. And yeah, smashed a window and dented the door. I did a CV as well, but I was still a few hours from home. So we finished filming and I still had to strip the front end and get all the bits of broken CV out. Because what happens is, as you know, sometimes when a CV breaks, a little bits of metal can get down into the steering knuckle of a solid axle vehicle. And you can actually lock up your steering if you're not careful. It's just dangerous. So I stripped it all out and cleaned it just to get home and put it all back together and drove home. I even got pulled over on the way home because he saw the Queensland plates and was like, "What are you doing, mate?" And there was oil all up the side of the car and I was all filthy. And
broken window. He probably thought this guy's had a hard enough day. I'm just going to let him be.
He did. He looked at my licence and I think he just laughed and gave it back to me and I went home.
Well, Jocko, it's a ripper of a little truck, mate, the Pony Lux.
It is.
It does some tough tracks, so, it's understandable that every now and again it's decided to just give up, and that's what makes driving an old truck exciting, I reckon.
It is, mate. It definitely is.
Wall rider.
Yeah.
Now, I just want to clear one thing up. This is a question we've had many times on the show, mate. I want to clear this up once and for all, mate. Obviously, Graham let the cat out of the bag recently about you potentially being his illegitimate child.
One last question here. Bit of a weird question. I don't know why anyone would ask this, but iWolf wants to know, is Graham your father? Am I your father?
Well, Graham, you're actually breaking up a bit. I might actually go, but before I answer that question, are you going to be at family dinner on Sunday, or let's go?
Yeah, mate, I am.
Yeah, okay, cool. I got to go, but yeah.
Right.
Can't answer that one right now.
We'll see you on the weekend.
See you, Dad.
Okay?
I mean, Graham, I'll see you, mate. Love you.
See you, son.
So is
there's not
he
much
your dad?
to tell. He's my dad. Like, what else do you want?
Or is he your mum? Is He could
a
be,
bit of both.
He could be an older, hairy sister.
He could be, yeah. I think he wishes he was more my mum than my dad, but you know, we've had a long.
Let's clear it once and for all, mate.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, because you know he's been around me my entire life, and he's a father figure to me. I've looked down to him. Well, I looked up to him for many years, obviously, but not anymore.
No,
and
you look down to him now.
Yeah, just as he's got that vibe about him, doesn't he? Just that dad figure in your life that you need. Yeah, does that answer your question?
Well,
not really.
I don't know. Why don't we start a bit of a poll in the comments, mate? Just put down your comment. What do you think? Do you think Jocko is Graham's son?
It's a sensible phone holder.
How do I read it? How do I make the text bigger on my phone?
Well, mate, we've had a couple of questions about this one, mate. It's from a cooking scene. I don't know why this one became so popular, Jocko, but Weeksy08, he's talking about the stuffed chicken breast cooking segment. You weren't on this trip, mate, and a little hot tip for you, though. If you want to really impress a lady friend or something like that, mate, cook this one up for her. I'll tell you what, it's an absolute cracker. I don't know what's so funny about it. Look, you weren't there, Jocko, so I'll quickly explain it to you, mate. Like, you got to. I'm talking about stuffing a chicken breast. So what you want to do is make a small little hole in the front of it. And this is where it gets actually quite skillful. You need to use probably 2 fingers, it's probably easier. And just insert that into the chicken breast. And you want to basically, when you get inside the chicken breast, you want to spread your fingers a little bit to try and widen the gap in there. No, but the problem is you've got to be careful, Jocko, because if you go too hard, you're going to split the skin. You don't want to do that, mate. You want to keep that chicken breast whole so you can fit the maximum amount of stuffing in there. And once you get all that stuffing inside there, I mean, put it in the camp oven for a little bit and you've got stuffed chicken breast. Cut it up nice and little slices, mate. And I'll tell you what, it's taking an old chicken breast and making it pretty fancy, if you ask me. I still don't get why people find that funny, but why don't we take a look and you can judge for yourself. Here's a hot little tip for everyone back at home. If you're going to be stuffing breasts, you want to try and get the biggest, juiciest breast you can find. All you need to really do is get the fattest end of the breast. So grab one, put your knife right down the back. So it's inside, do not pierce the outside of it. Get your finger inside there.
Okay. So what are we putting in there?
I can't do this. Okay, all you want to do is basically put a finger in there. I want to stretch that hole out into the fracco.
Hang on.
Hang on. You start with a long...
I don't know if it should be long ways. You can't show that.
It gets
Look
better.
at that.
No.
All right.
Okay, just gonna, hang on a second. Come on.
Okay,
All
sorry,
right.
Shuey, sorry. All right.
So it's really quite simple, mate. You just want to finger that hole just as much as you can, just to basically widen that gap up a fracco.
Yep.
And what you can do there is you can fit more stuff in, obviously. So that's looking good, actually. If you get that, just looking.
Yes, it's not going to work.
You'd be surprised how much you can fit in that hole.
Okay. We got this. Let's just be deadpan, like completely deadpan.
Okay.
Go.
So basically all you're doing is just trying to widen that hole a tiny bit. So obviously the wider you make it without breaking the sides, the wider you make it, the more stuffing you're going to get inside. Oh, you got 2 fingers. Really. Mine has not been worked.
Okay, we've got to do more of these too.
Just want to widen that hole up a fair bit. Just the bigger you make the hole, the more stuffing you're going to get inside your breast. You've actually managed to get that quite. Don't do that. Don't.
Well, mate, speaking about funny cooking scenes, do you remember that time it was Christmas time and we were cooking, we were out the back of the Glasshouse Mountains and we'd finished cooking and you found that little snake on the ground. And I don't know what it is with you, you just love picking up snakes, don't you? But
I do, mate. I've got a fascination for them, but I've made a new rule, mate. Firstly, for the brown tree snakes, don't pick them up because I've only tried it twice now and I've been bitten twice. That was directly after a cooking scene. I had a couple of iron jacks and I decided I'd pick up the snake and show the boys because snakes are cool. Picked this one up and he was just a cranky little bugger. He had no Christmas spirit at all. And
he didn't have a Christmas hat.
No, he bit me like 3 or 4 times. And
then, on the hand, yeah.
on the hand and on the arm, on the bicep. He bit me quite a few times, and I put him down. Thought, bugger that, not going to pick up one of those snakes anymore. And then we all went to bed, Jocko. We all went into our swags. I'm laying down in my swag, and it was a Christmas special. I had a few Iron Jacks, and I remember laying back in my swag, just thinking, is that the Iron Jacks, or am I slowly dying from snake poison here? Because I wasn't feeling right. And I started stressing out a little bit. But I thought, bugger it, look, I'll just go to sleep, and I'm sure it'll be all good in the morning.
You'll be right.
They're a non-venomous snake, but your mind starts to play a few tricks on you. Do you remember on that same trip, we went to Cruiser Park, I think it was.
Yes, and there was that festival on.
Well, that was the weirdest thing. There was all these little hatchbacks coming out of Cruiser Park, and I was like, what's going on here? And then we heard the music, this deep bass just pumping away in the background. And we found out that this a dance festival was on at the same time we were filming. So that's something you guys would never have known about. When we were filming that episode at Cruiser Park, there was actually Bohemian Beat Freaks dance party going on in the background.
I've never done a four-wheel drive track, and in the background in the bush, you can just hear this doof music going on while you're trying to drive a rock step.
There was a fair bit going on. And did you remember going down that little swimming hole, mate? We all thought we'd go take a dip, and you could actually see the oil on top of the water. I mean, quite a few carefree people had gone for a little dip that weekend, I reckon. And look,
the water was stagnant. Yeah, that's right. Because it was stagnant
had like an
for a
oil
few
slick
days.
on it. It was pretty festive.
After a couple of days in the hot sun, and we didn't even want to swim, but the friendly camera crew made us get in. I remember that, and the water, it was all slimy and stuff.
Yum. Good times, Jocko. Good times. Well, Jocko, I reckon we get onto this one, mate. We've got a fair few questions about this trip, and this is it does rate for me as a memorable moment. I'm talking about the time we went down to the snow. Here's a message from Tyler Wing, talking about Shauno's pub in the Victorian High Country. That's a memorable one for a lot of people, mate. You weren't on that trip from memory.
I wasn't, but snow trips are always memorable.
Probably what made it more memorable, mate. The fact you went there. No, I'm just joking with you, mate. It was a cracking trip. It was an absolute cracker, and it was one of those ones where we really lucked into the snow. Like you can't plan a snow trip. You can go down obviously in the cold part of the year. That's going to get you your best shot at getting snow. But
winter time.
That's usually that's a good start. But you can't. Usually only snows for a good couple of weeks, especially low enough where we drive.
Especially in Australia as well. Just being able to wheel in the snow.
So cool. It was so cool. I mean, we were driving like all day, and we had to get into camp that night. So we found a spot to camp, which is just a big open snow paddock. We were assuming it was like a campground. We sort of set up our camp there. It started getting real dark. To be honest with you guys, it still goes down as one of the best campsites I've ever been to. But at the time, we were freezing cold. I couldn't feel my feet. I was wearing work boots, and obviously anyone who goes to the snow knows that they get wet really quick, and then you're cold all the time. My pants were cold. Everything was wet and cold, pretty much, and everyone was in the same boat. So we basically just wanted to get to camp, set up, and go to bed. We got the fire. We got the fire going. As soon as there was a fire going, it changed the mood of the camp. And all of a sudden, I had a bit of inspiration, mate. I started a bar up on the back of Sooty. Did not need to keep the beers in the fridge because it was so cold outside. I just grabbed a big bunch of snow, put it on the tailgate, Iron Jacks all around.
That's all
it was
need. Wow.
It was a great night, mate. Great night. But I'll tell you,
that sounds
one little thing behind the scenes now. A lot of the people that have watched that show will probably remember that I was going on about this electric blanket. Now, I'd been going on about an electric blanket probably for 3 weeks leading up to the trip. Very excited because up in southeast Queensland, you don't own one, there's no need for one. I've never really used an electric blanket, so I was very excited to see how it would go down in the snow. Now, one of the things I didn't realise, Jocko, it's all well and good setting it on the maximum setting, but when you jump into that swag with the electric blanket, it's one of the nicest things you'll ever do in your life. You're in the snow, it's cold outside, you jump into a warm little swag.
That'd be lovely. Yeah.
Unbelievable, mate. Unbelievable. I kept it on the highest setting all night, and I actually woke up at 3 a.m, red like a lobster, fully dehydrated. I went to get my water bottle, which is now frozen, of course. Couldn't get a drink of water. I had to because I'd taken a fair few layers of clothes off by this stage, mate. So you can imagine me in my grundies running around the snow to try and find some water that wasn't frozen over. I woke up in the morning with a headache. I was dehydrated. It wasn't the best night's sleep, to be honest. That's behind the scenes. Didn't quite work out like I planned. I think next time I go to do it, set it up really high before you go to bed. When you get in there, whack it. Whack it right down, mate, or even turn it off. But anyway, that's for next time I go to the snow. Fair old bloody squiz. Jocko, I want to move on to some of our Cape York trips, mate, because as you know,
yes.
we love Cape York. We try and get up there every single year if we can. And now there's a lot, of course, that happens behind the scenes that you guys probably wouldn't get to see. Well, you definitely don't get to see. And I want to let you in on a couple of the memorable moments that I've got, mate. One, I don't think you're on this one. It was up in the Frenchman's track where we're really early in the season, so everything was really wet. We basically made the decision, right, we're finished. We couldn't get through the Frenchman's track, so we turned around to come back. Now, that was supposed to take us a couple of hours to get back. We weren't even really going to film it. And everything sort of turned to custard, mate, because the track was so wet that a bit that we drove down, we didn't even film coming to the Pasco. And that sort of soggy black soil country, the ground just sort of gave away. Yep. I went down, every single vehicle went down, and we ended up, I think, winching for about a good 5 or 6 hours to get about 500 metres down the track. It was just one of the most epic things ever. And just things just, when they go wrong, they just keep going wrong. It sort of snowballed, mate. And as we're coming back through, we were trying to get the quickest way out of that track so we could try and make Archer River, was the whole reason we we're trying to do that. We'd make Archer River to try and get one of their famous burgers, mate. And that was the whole reason why we were pushing it. And we came to this little river crossing. We'd all gone through. I think we had the winch coming out, so we thought maybe we'll try and find an easier way around it. We found some tyre tracks. We thought, oh, it doesn't look like a great entry into this creek. I jumped in first, not really thinking, not really walking through it first. Got extremely stuck in sooty, probably one of the most stuck I've ever been. Couldn't come out forward because it was so undercut under the bank. So Graham put a winch onto me, started trying to winch me back out. And what you guys didn't see is he put it in reverse. And I guess he was just trying to get me out because I was real stuck. And as he put it in reverse, it just like shock loaded that CV up and just smashed the D-Max CV. We had to get the camera car involved. Become a real nightmare, actually.
That's the crazy thing about Cape York, isn't it? Particularly early in the season, some of that ground can get super unforgiving. And do you remember last year with we were on it was Cape Flattery, and we were coming out with Bailey in the camper trailer, and he went into that creek crossing just a little bit too quick and actually put his fan through his radiator.
Yes.
Yeah, we're just
Again,
driving
that was on the way out. It's always when we're just about to wrap up. There's a lot of things behind the scenes that just go wrong, and that was a classic, mate. When he snapped, not only snapped the fan, but he put the fan through the radiator. Classic Cape York sort of mistake, that one, mate. We recently got back from Cape York. You get to see all this next week on our channel, mate, where we took the big 47. I don't know if you can see it behind me there. It's back from Cape York. And, mate, we had an absolute cracker of a time. And talk about things going wrong in Cape York. Here we are, mate.
I'll tell you.
10 times in Cape York.
10th time. We've taken 2 swags, a couple of cans of baked beans, some steaks and some beers.
Oh, that's deep.
How you feeling, mate?
Yeah, good. Really good.
Oh, that's full brakes.
How good's that?
Yes! See ya! Drive!
Listen to it! Oh my God!
Tell you what, you don't need much to come up here and have an absolute ball.
It's one of the best Cape trips. I know I say that nearly every year, but this year I think it was our 10th time to Cape York. We went to the old telly in the farm truck, and mate, had the time of our lives. And I'm not going to let it get out of the bag just yet. You need to check it out, but it's one of the best trips you'll see on our channel. Cape York, just after a big wet in the 47, mate. You were in the D-Max for that one. We had a really cool range of rigs on that one. So make sure you tune in next week on YouTube. It's an absolute cracker. Jocko, it's getting to that time of day, mate, where I might go crack a beer and go hide under a truck for a while, spin a few spanners, you know what I'm saying?
Sounds like that. Sounds like a plan, mate. I might get a beer out and work on the old red Luxie behind me. So, no, it's been a pleasure talking to you, mate.
You need to get that thing going, mate.
Oh, yeah, I do.
You need to get that thing
fair
going.
way off. It's a fair way off, to tell you the truth. The more I work on it, the more I realise that there's a lot that needs to be done. So
just keep spinning spanners, mate. I can't wait. As soon as this COVID lockdown is done, mate, I want to go wheeling with you, and you're going to be driving that thing, I hope.
Looking forward to it. Or maybe. I'll at least be driving a Hilux at least. Looking forward to it, mate.
That narrows it down. Look, guys, hope you're staying safe and out of strife. I know these lockdowns can be hard for a lot of people. Keep looking at our channel. We've got some really exciting stuff coming in the next few weeks.
Definitely.
So stay safe, and hopefully you can find some time down in the shed to work on the projects your own. So as soon as those lockdowns are done, you can get in your 4B and go somewhere really cool. But until then, Jocko, you take it easy, mate.
You too, mate. Looking forward to being back out on the tracks with you soon, eh?